Hi everyone, I want to thank you for coming today for my presentation. Hello. So this is for my action research project for graduation at National University, Master's in School Counseling. Anyway, so my action research project was academic success groups for at-risk freshmen. You can go ahead. So introduction. At Fortuna High, I noticed that there was a lot of failing freshmen. The scary thing is that the numbers just kept climbing, so at each progress report I was noticing, hey, why are there more Fs? So I started to interview my failing freshmen, and I noticed that there was a theme. So what I first noticed, incoming freshmen specifically struggle with the transition into high school. So there's that transition period where they're struggling. They need that extra support. Also, high school is hard. If you remember what it was like, it was hard. Also, many students lack the study skills needed for success. So it's hard and study skills needed. Move on. So foundations. So for my action research, I had to do a lot of literature review. I had to dig deep and find other relevant research. What I did find was Hinchy back in 1996. He examined 2 common reasons why students say they don't do their homework. So first, he discovered that lack of time. So maybe they have a lot of things going on, they're trying to juggle their schedules, they just have a lot of pressure. Time management is a problem. Also, lack of importance. So a lot of our students, they're coming into high school and they don't understand how important their grades are. And third, homework was just simply too hard, and they felt like it was too late to try. So they just essentially given up. So time, importance, and difficulty. So I also found some relevant research that went back to our ASCA model, and also used the ASCA model for study skills groups. So back in 2009, researchers used a group approach to increase study skills, and specifically with at-risk freshmen. So very similar to what I did for my project. ASCA national model was used specifically for framework in the development, delivery, and evaluation of the intervention. And study skills included 9th grade students who were at the bottom 50% of their class. So again, like my population, which I will go into later, that was a big concern. So for this study, their main group focus, I don't know if you can see this very well, but they focus on goal setting, test taking strategies, test anxiety reduction, time management, purpose of homework, learning strategies, and organizational skills. And what they found was that small group counseling intervention strengthened study behaviors. This was measured by a pre-post test design. And they also did the parity test to make sure test for significance. Additional results included they promoted school counselor visibility, so they made the school realize how important we school counselors are. Also improved counselor relationships with students, parents, and other stakeholders, which is really important. So my purpose of my research and intervention was to create an academic success group that would benefit my at-risk freshmen. And my main goal was to increase study skills used, encourage my students to achieve their goals, and also change overall attitudes towards school, which is really important. So for my action research, I had to create some research questions. So specifically, I wanted to know, will participation in an academic success group benefit at-risk freshmen? Specifically, I wanted to know, will we see an increase in the frequency of study skills used in participating students? And will those students be doing more to meet their individual goals by the end of the intervention? So why run an academic success group? So we ask why. Why should we? Because the research that I did found that they are effective. They have that group support, so students learn to work in teams, they learn to collaborate. There's that accountability within the group that we see. Also, when deciding my topic, I didn't want to just go out and collect data. I wanted to actually do something. I had passion about what I decided to work with. So yeah, wanted to do something. So setting. So my research took place here at Fortuna High School, which is where I also work. I included students in the 9th grade, but Fortuna High serves 9 through 12. We have medium student-to-teacher ratios, and we have approximately 850 students enrolled. Fortuna High School consists of 80% or 68% white, 23% Hispanic, 4% 2 or more races, and 4% American, Alaskan, and Native. So, participants. So my participants were selected through purposive sampling. So you ask, what is that, right? That means that they were selected for the purpose of the study. So I was looking specifically at at-risk freshmen. So of course, when I was selecting my students, I was looking at students that had 2 or more Fs. Also, criteria for selected students. So again, at risk. My group, I selected English learners. I had students with IEPs, students with 504 plans. And then again, they had to have 2 or more Fs at the most recent progress report. So demographics really quick. So in my group, I had a total of 6 participants. I had 5 males and 1 female. I did have 2 students drop out of the study, so initially there was going to be 8. All students were freshmen. 1 student had identified as Hispanic, 5 had identified as white, 4 students had IEPs, 2 had 504 plans, 1 student was identified as an English learner, and all participants were identified as being at risk as defined by my study. At risk, again, 2 or more Fs at progress report. So my plan, you can read this. So I decided that the study would take place over 4 weeks. Specifically, we would meet every Thursday. I made sure that the times alternated so there wasn't like a huge impact on classes missed. Also, we had to focus on we had topics each week, right? So we worked towards meeting individual goals, identifying learning styles, note-taking, organization skills, and also test-taking strategies. So as far as my major, I used a pre- and post-study skills survey. I also had students monitor where they were at with meeting their goals each week. So I looked at week 1 versus week 4. Also, data was analyzed after the final group session, and I used a pair t-test to test for significance. So instruments used, again, this is just a little recap. So first I had a pre-test. There were a total of 10 questions used. I was looking at the frequency of study skills used by participants. Then on the test itself, it was a Likert scale, so ranging from 1 to 4. 1 meaning never, 4 meaning always. The post-test administration was done week 4. Similar question, or the same questions. Second measure used in the study was the individual goal setting sheet. So each member established their own individual goal before the start of the group, so no data was collected at that time. So when I met with students beforehand, it was just to see what their goals were and identify ways to meet their goals. Each week, students did assess where they were at with meeting that individual goal. So week 1, what did we cover? Week 1, so first session. We reviewed group expectations. I wanted my students to understand what to expect in the group. I wanted to give them a quick outline. I also wanted to review confidentiality, respect for one another, and so forth. Also, we did the study skills pre-survey, so that would be Exhibit A in your packet, so if you want to look at that. We also, again, reviewed the individual goal setting worksheet, which would be Exhibit B in your packet. And then we also discussed obstacles to success. So what I did is I had a big whiteboard, and we had the students write up, shout out different obstacles that they've faced. And then we did a quick recap. Okay, this is what you faced. What are great ways to address those obstacles? So they came up with some great ideas. And then also we did a learning styles inventory, so that'd be exhibit number C. And basically in the learning styles inventory, it was helpful for students to learn and understand, hey, this is how I learn, this is my style, and then we matched study skills and study tips that matched how they learn uniquely. So week 2, we focused on note-taking strategies. We had fun little activities. We broke it down into smaller groups, and the students worked towards creating topics and using the Cornell note-taking method. So that was really successful, and they enjoyed that. Again, we reviewed where they were at with meeting their individual goals. So week 3, we focused on organization. So we purchased a whole bunch of those accordion-style binders. We had the students bring their backpacks. We opened them up, which was a little scary, but we took everything out. We organized by subject. The students left with organized backpacks, and then they had an idea of what work they had completed and was still hanging out in the backpack, which was actually really helpful. We also reviewed their goals for the week. So week 4 was test-taking strategies. First, we did a Skittles activity where students were able to select, from a bag of Skittles. What they didn't realize was that certain colors that they had in their hand meant they had to practice specific relaxation techniques. So that was a lot of fun. So we specifically worked on following directions, asking for help when needed, successful study skills, and we also reviewed goals. Specifically, in week 4, we did that post-survey. And then with the goals, we wanted to know, okay, now that the group is over, where are you at with meeting your individual goals? So that was really key in that session. Okay, so my data collection timeline, just to give you a little rundown of what I did and how data was collected. So informed consent was collected in the beginning. Then we had set dates for the group. Individual goals were then created. Data collection started March 3rd, 2016. Participants filled out the study skills pre-survey. Then students filled out the individual goal setting worksheet. Data collection was completed on March 22nd, 2016. Students completed their study skills post-survey again during week 4, and they also finished their individual goal setting worksheet. So data analysis. So how did we analyze all this data that was gathered? Basically, data was analyzed by examining the data from the study skills pre and post-survey. Also used a paired t-test. So that was used to determine whether differences in the study skills pre-survey and then the post-survey, we wanted to know if there was actual significance or if it was just by chance. Also, data from weeks 1 and 4 of the individual goal setting sheet was also evaluated. The paired t-test was also used to determine significance from week 1 versus week 4. So as you see here, the quantitative study skills survey data, the green would be week 1, the blue is week 4. So this was study skills used, and then you can see here, this is student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So data, again, from the pre-post study skills survey was evaluated. We saw, as you can see here, all 6 students increased the amount of study skills, the frequency of study skills used by week 4. So in was 6, we had 6 members in the group. Specifically, study skills mean, so the average of study skills used increased by 23.07% over the course of 4 weeks. So again, data from the study skills pre-post surveys was entered into an online statistics program. So for this study, I used something that was called GraphPad. Additional results from the two-tailed p-value was equal to 0.0091. I know that sounds, for a lot of people, you're like, what does that mean? Well, in the land of statistics, that means by conventional criteria, the difference was considered to be very statistically significant. So quantitative data for my individual goal setting data. So again, green would be week 1, blue is week 4, and you see here again in order, student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The questions was, what am I doing to achieve my individual goal that week? So as you can see in week 1, students weren't doing that much. So on a Likert scale of 1 to 5, am I doing nothing or am I doing everything? Students went from doing about something to some doing a lot or everything to meet their individual goal. So specifically, all 6 students increased what they were doing to meet their goal. There were 6 students, so n equals 6. And I thought this was awesome. The mean increased by 47.34% by the 4th week. It's a huge increase in just 4 weeks. So results continued. Again, data was entered into an online program for statistics. GraphPad was very useful. What I found from weeks 1 versus week 4, the two-tailed p-value is equal to 0.0015, which again, by conventional criteria, means that the data was statistically significant. So I did have some limitations to my study that I just wanted to review with you. One of them was number of participants. So of course, I would have liked a much larger sample size. Again, for the group setting, it was nice having that intimate, small number of students, but I would have liked to have seen more. I think the 8 was a great number to begin with. Also time. So again, we only had 4 weeks. I only had 4 weeks to work with these students. I feel like we would have seen a lot more impact if we would have extended the group for a longer period of time. So I just wanted to recap. So what were my research questions at the beginning of the study? First, will participation in an academic success group benefit at-risk freshmen? I also wanted to know, will we see an increase in frequency of study skills used, and will students be doing more to meet their individual goal? So, frequency of study skills increased by 23.07%. Students went up 47.34% towards meeting their individual goals, which means data successfully answered the research questions. Yay! So, implications for practice. So, for me as a school counselor, I feel like the study really impacted me. The students taught me a lot. I was able to work with a group of students that told me they thought nobody cared, which I did. And then I was able to find significance in this intervention, which has motivated me to want to do more. And I saw sincere change in my students. So no matter what the data said, I saw the change and made it worthwhile for me. So implications for future research. So I plan to further research academic success groups and how they benefit at-risk freshmen or students in general. The next logical question to come out of this research for further review would be specific. So I want to be more specific next time. With more time towards my group, I would like to ask, will participation in an academic success group positively impact student grade point averages? So in my study, I was looking at frequency of study skills used, individual goals. I did not include GPA. So will participants decrease the number of D's and F's by the end of the group? And by continuing this research goal, my goal would be to improve academic success group and overall impact on participating students. So final thoughts. I would say it was an effective intervention. The interventions are necessary for change. Also, I'll continue to look at other results-based interventions to use with students at my school site. And as opportunities come available, I would like to assist in development and evaluation of results-based interventions. And these are my lovely references. Thank you.